Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know who I am, my name's Nahir. I'm 20 years old and I am a coding student. Also, side note, you guys should be super proud of me because I made my bed before I started this video. Yeah, it's serious. Today's video is kind of like a sit-down talk video. I really want to start a series and I think I know what I'm going to call it. I think I'm gonna call it Big Sis. And I'm just going to make a video series about giving advice about certain topics. Just because I'm a big sister, I have two little sisters, and I feel like they always come to me for advice, but also I have friends that come to me for advice, and I like watching these kinds of videos, especially on days that I feel down or low or need some kind of motivation. And so I think I want to start making it more of these sit down and talk with me videos, just because I think some of the topics that need to be talked about or should be talked about aren't talked about in society as much as they should be. Sometimes a girl needs some advice, you know, and sometimes a girl just wants to rant. So these videos are kind of going to be rambly, so if you don't like those kinds of videos, go ahead and click out, watch something else. If you do, get some popcorn, get some snacks, eat some pretzel sticks. Love pretzel sticks. Ate a whole bag last night watching Netflix. I have my tea here in my mug that says Free Press that I got at Pride Parade. And yeah, I'm just gonna get started. Also, another side note, I am wearing no makeup because couldn't be bothered to put on any makeup, and I might regret that decision later. I kind of look like a little nun, but it's okay. It's okay. And this is super, super hot, but I really wanted it. Oh. So for today's first episode of Big Sis, I wanted to talk about body image because I feel like it is something that as a girl, I have struggled with ever since I can remember. I think the earliest memory that I have, or that I can remember, of being self-conscious and self-aware of my body was when I was at the bowling alley with a really close personal family friend of mine, and I was with her and her two parents. I remember we were eating pizza and I went to go grab a second slice of pizza and her mom said no, and I remember sitting there and being so confused, like, why can't I have another slice of pizza? Like, I'm in a bowling alley and I want pizza. And her mom said, if you eat another slice, you're gonna get fat. And I just remember, I was like 7 or 6 at the time. And I just remember sitting there and being so astonished and taken back that a mother figure, another woman, would sit there and tell me that I could not have another slice of pizza because I would get fat. And her daughter was sitting right next to me. And I remember looking around at the table in the bowling alley and nobody even looked at me. Nobody said anything. Nobody felt off. I felt like I was the only one that was uncomfortable in that situation. And being 6 years old, you're like, what the heck? I just couldn't fathom it. I think I was just speechless. And I remember being so self-conscious, like thinking, oh my God, I am fat already. Like, should I have grabbed for the cheese instead of the pepperoni because it's a little bit less calories? Like, I was 6, guys. I was 6 years old. And some lady told me that I couldn't have another slice. Granted, after a couple moments of awkwardness and me just being like, whoa, you know, she laughed about it. She joked it off and she said, just kidding. But I don't think, looking back and reflecting at that moment now, I don't think she was kidding. It just always stuck with me, and it was always very, very weird. And I never told anyone that story. I haven't even told my parents that story. They don't even know. But I'm sharing it with you guys because I think it's moments like these that are very important, especially if you are someone who is older. You need to be careful about the things that you say. Even around, like, me and my little sisters, I know consciously that I need to be careful around the things that I say, like, oh, you know, my arms look a little bit chubby, or does the shirt make me look fat? Like, I need to be consciously aware because I am bringing that energy and those kinds of thoughts into their heads so that later on in their lives they're going to evaluate their own bodies and think the same things. I also want to be real with you guys because I feel like body image has a thing to do with your mental way of thinking. It is something that society has put onto us as women, and I'm sure as men too. Everyone has like these kind of social stigmas around what a perfect male body looks like or what a perfect female body should look like. And all of that is bullshit. And it's taken me forever to realize that. Guys, I'm 20 years old. all through middle school, all through high school. It was like this constant struggle with my weight, this constant battle with my own body image, whether that be positive or negative. And, you know, I'm sad to say that a lot of it was negative. I have tried crash diets. I've tried counting calories, which was probably my lowest point ever, and I've never told anyone that. I tried exercising every day. I remember my friend invited me to the beach. Lily, I'm gonna call you out. I remember my friend Lily invited me to the beach one summer, and I think it was the summer going into sophomore year or the summer going into freshman year. But I remember she invited me to Florida with her and her family. And this was a time when I started watching Blog Lotties. If you don't know what Blog Lotties is, she is a really awesome YouTuber. She's basically like a fitness Pilates guru, and I would watch her religiously. And I remember going onto her website. She has a whole calendar of workouts for the month and for the next month, and you basically follow the videos that are listed on her channel, and she makes like a playlist, and like that's your workout. So it's for people who can't necessarily afford to go to the gym or who don't have time to go to the gym, so they work out from home. And little side note, she's awesome. Blog Lotties is really, really freaking cool. If you've never heard of it, go ahead and do it. I saw really great results, but it became this thing where I had to follow this calendar religiously, and I had to follow the meal plan, and I had to drink this amount of water, and I had to eat this amount of food and consume this amount of calories and burn this amount of calories so I could be this perfect figure of a woman, so I could match what society, what TV, and what magazines were showing me at the time was beautiful. I remember I would do the Blog Lotties workouts every single day, like religiously every single day. I would wake up, I would probably eat a little bit of breakfast and then go downstairs. And I even bought a yoga mat because I was so obsessed with it. And my back started hurting because I was doing the exercises on this wood floor. And so I bought a yoga mat. I remember when she invited me, I was so excited to go to the beach, but my first thought was, crap, how am I supposed to work out? You know, the 7 or 5 days that we're at the beach. How am I supposed to do every single Blog Lotties workout? If I don't work out every single day for a whole week, my progress is gone. I'm gonna be fat again. I'm gonna have another roll again. I'm gonna have, you know, cellulite on my legs. And I remember one night I sat in my room and I grabbed my laptop and I Googled, this is so crazy, you guys, and I Googled, how do I work out being on vacation with my friend? I have to take responsibility for stuff like this because I feel like I have a very addictive personality, and when I like something, I am obsessed with it. It happens with food, it happens with clothes, it happens with everything that's a part of my life. And I have so many examples of that. When I fell in love with veganism, you know, when I discovered veganism, that's all I consumed was veganism. That's all I watched on YouTube. That's all I was watching on Netflix, like veganism documentaries and like health food documentaries. I was obsessed with recipes, you know, but then there's like little categories in between then. When I found what banana ice cream was, I was obsessed with banana ice cream. You can ask all my friends. I just get obsessive with different things that I like, and most of the times it's food because being vegan, sometimes your options are limited, so you have to cook a lot. I get obsessed with finding new recipes and trying new things, and when something works out, you know, which doesn't really happen a lot, I make that recipe repeatedly. And so I have kind of like an addictive personality to where if I find something and, you know, like it kind of clicks, then I do it over and over and over again. And this is what Blog Lotties was for me. And, you know, later down the road, the gym was kind of like that for me too. It's this thing in my head, and I don't know who's at fault for it. I mean, it's probably my own fault, but also society's stigma around what I am doing wrong or how I look wrong physically as a woman and my body. I was always a little bit curvier than the girls at school. And granted, there's nothing wrong with that. After I Googled that, it was like a couple days later, and it was getting closer and closer to the time that we were about to leave for Florida for the beach. And my friend came over and we were watching YouTube videos or something, and then she was like, oh, I want to show you something on Google. So I gave her my laptop and she started Googling, and what came up on the search result was what I typed the other day before. And she looked at me and she goes, what is this? And I was so embarrassed because I didn't know how to explain it. And I remember I tried to like brush it off, like, oh, I didn't write that, or that was just something I didn't know how to explain myself because it was so embarrassing, and I don't know. And Lily, I don't know if you remember that day, but that day was eye-opening for me because I realized that I needed to chill out. Here I was like 15, 16 years old, Googling how to still work out while on vacation. Guys, when you're on vacation, you shouldn't have to worry about having to work out or looking perfect. You should just live. You should just breathe. And at the time, I didn't know that. And at the time, I was so focused on, how I'm gonna look next to my beautiful friend in a bikini. How am I gonna look in pictures? How to pose myself. Oh God, that's another one. I would spend hours just like standing in front of the mirror, like trying to pose. If her mom took a picture at a certain angle, how should I stand? That whole mentality of trying to be skinny, of trying to look good in front of the camera, it's so dumb. And if you're watching this right now and you're struggling with that same issue, look at yourself in the mirror right now and tell yourself that you are beautiful. I'm not gonna cry. Because I really do wish that at a young age I had someone that was making this kind of video, or that was, a big sister figure of mine. I am the second oldest in a family of 4 kids, and I have an older brother, so I couldn't necessarily go to him about, girl issues like body image and like, what do I do when I don't feel skinny enough, or like, why do I always feel like trash when I look in the mirror, or my clothes aren't fitting. My jeans, guys, I remember my jeans would fit one week and then the next week they'd be too tight. And it'd be like this constant battle of me like binge eating, being really sad about the fact that I just ate, so much food, but I was like starving myself. And it's so dumb. I listened to a podcast a couple weeks ago and something within me just clicked. I don't remember whose podcast it was, but they said when we look in the mirror, the first thought that we have is society's way of conforming us to this kind of ideal image of ourselves. And then the second thought that we have is how we truly feel about ourselves. It just resonated with me so much because there were moments where every day I would wake up and I would check my body. I would go to the mirror and I would do these body checks. I would obsessively search for something that was different in my body the day before. Like, oh, are my arms a little bit skinnier than yesterday? Do I have a little bit bigger of a thigh gap than I did yesterday? I would do this every single day because I was so afraid not fitting into this mold of what the media wanted me to fit into. It's so sad because I realize now the amount of energy and focus that I wasted on stupid shit like that. I wasted so much energy when I could have been outside, hanging out with my friends. When I could have gone to the movies and seen a really cool movie. When I could have been in my room reading a book. When I could have been hiking. I just wasted so much time and energy and focus on stupid shit like that. It's so sad. But when I listened to the podcast, it just clicked. There have been countless moments of where I have looked at myself and I thought, oh my God, I am so fat. Like I'm so ugly right now. And then I would step back from the mirror and I'd be like, no, Nahir, that's not true. You're actually really pretty. It's so true. Like your first thought is what society has programmed you to think of yourself, and then your second thought is actually what you truly think of yourself. And your second thought is always more loving and caring and beautiful than the first thought. So I'm sitting here and I am telling you guys to not conform to what you've been hearing around you. Don't go to a sleepover with your friends and complain about how you think your ears stick out a little bit too much, how you think your arms are way longer than they should be because you haven't grown into them yet, or how your nose is pointier than the girl next to you sitting in class. It starts this vicious cycle. And I guarantee you that nobody in the freaking world even looks at those little details as hard as you. You are your own worst critic. And I would be lying if I said that some days weren't harder than others, because some days I still do body checks. But it's gotten to a point where I realize that I'm doing it and I'm reflecting on it. And I'm telling myself to step back a little bit. And I have to admit, this was part of the reason why I deleted my social media accounts. I deleted the apps from my phone because it became this constant cycle of me trying to compare myself to all these other women in my life instead of uplifting them. I would scroll and I would see these people's posts and I would compare myself, you know, not only physically, but also professionally. And so I told myself, this is ridiculous, Nahir. This is absolutely ridiculous that you are sitting here and you're spending 2-3 hours on an app comparing yourself to other girls around you, girls that you, for the most part, have never talked to, and you are wasting your time. I reflected, guys. I realized that these were my trigger points. These were what these apps, Snapchat and Instagram, this is what was triggering me to feel so horrible about myself. So beyond bad about who I was and what I stood for and like why I didn't have a purpose in life and why these girls got it, like why they were more successful than me, why they had more followers than me, why they were prettier than me. And I told myself enough is enough. I am not going to let other people or society and the media, I'm not going to let these silly pictures affect how I feel about myself. So I just took it upon myself and I deleted everything. And I cannot explain to you how freeing it is to not have to constantly worry and keep up with these people. You know, when you post a picture, you don't have the intention of hurting someone else's feelings. You just think it's a pretty picture. But it happens, guys. I'm sure it's happened to you and it's happened to me. It's happened to all of us that are watching this right now and listening. This is an epidemic. It needs to stop. And it's hard because when you see someone who posts constantly, especially like social media influencers who post about these beautiful, beautiful trips that they take and these beautiful clothes and homes and all these cool things that they're being gifted from companies and from brands. And it's hard to not compare yourself. Say things like, they're a year older than me and I am still at home struggling to even get a textbook for school. Like, I can't even afford a Starbucks coffee right now. And these girls, they're going to Greece and Paris and blah, 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 blah. But we should be uplifting each other for going to school or building up a business to where you can go to these kinds of trips. We should not be comparing ourselves as women and as girls. We should not be comparing ourselves to each other. It'll only bring you down. And we all know this. We've all experienced it. Yet we keep doing it every single day. Why? I want to end this on a little nugget. Do not compare yourself to other girls around you. And if you're a guy listening, which is awesome and you're freaking cool, don't compare yourself to guys around you either. It's toxic. It's bad for your emotional and mental health. And I know it's easier said than done. You ultimately can change the path of where you want to go in life and how you want to think about life. And body image is huge because it's self-esteem, it's yourself. So if you see a girl who may or may not be going on trips when you're stuck at home shoveling snow, uplift one another, guys. Don't bring each other down. Don't write hateful comments on each other's posts or videos or walls. Be kind to one another because I promise you that there are days where even the highest, richest, prettiest people are having horrible, horrible days. And it is nice to hear from a stranger or from someone you love uplifting and kind and encouraging words. So don't hate on one another, admire one another, and encourage hope and peace and freedom and love and kindness. If you guys enjoyed this video and if you stayed and watched the whole thing, girl, we need to hang out more. But let me know down below if you liked these kinds of videos and if you think, you know, this Big Sis series is worth it. I appreciate you guys so much for listening and for letting me get some things off my chest and for letting me have a platform to where I can be open and share stories that I have never shared before, and it's kind of scary, but they're important. Yeah. All right. Thank you guys for listening. Bye.